This is my Schecter Hellraiser Hybrid C1FR, and this has most definitely become one of my favorite guitars that I have. Now, first thing to note right off the bat is that this is not stock. I like to mod, I like to tinker, so the pickups have been changed, electronics have been changed, even some of the hardware. I'll get into all the modifications that I've done a bit later on in the video, but I thought I'd mention that right now, is that this is not a completely stock guitar. But fundamentally, this is a Schecter Hellraiser Hybrid C1FR. First thing to note right off the bat is, look at this finish. They call it ultraviolet, and it's kind of like this flip-flop paint. It goes from like this purple to blue to green to almost like this orange hue, depending on like how you look at it. Like, it's more obvious on the neck. I don't know if it'll be obvious from the camera, but at some angles, this thing looks orange, and it's partly the reason why I picked this guitar up to begin with. So I've owned this guitar for just about over a year and a half now, and I remember exactly when I decided to pick it up, and that was when I was trying to get rid of my Ormsby Goliath, I believe. It's a headless guitar. If you're a viewer of my channel, you probably have seen it like many years ago, like 3 years ago even. At that point, I've kind of owned it for a year, and I just wasn't really vibing with it. I didn't really like the way it looked. It sounded alright, but the main reason I wanted to get rid of it was because it had a hardtail, and a lot of the music that I was playing and playing live with at the time, just from the stuff that I like to write, involves a trem quite a lot. Want to get rid of it. So I remember taking it to PMT. If any of you guys are from the UK, you guys have probably heard of PMT. And I took it in either to get it sold or traded, but I remember walking into the shop, and at the very far corner of the shop was not this guitar, but the hardtail version of this guitar. And I just looked at it and I thought, wow, this thing is beautiful. That was even before I even tried it or anything. I just looked at it and thought, wow, I want this guitar. And then I picked it up and then I felt it, and it just kind of seemed to like melt into my body, like the way the contours are, like with this belly cut and this kind of heel access up here, and these contours, this carved top right here. It's like one of the most, by far one of the most comfortable guitars I've ever played. But the problem was, again, it was the hardtail version, but knowing Schecter, I knew they probably made a Floyd Rose version, and luckily they did. So I asked PMT if they had the Floyd Rose version, and they had to get it shipped in from a different store, but essentially I got this by trading my Ormsby Goliath, and yeah, I haven't looked back at all. This is such a good trade. I love this guitar. So first thing I want to kind of get into is just the overall specs of this guitar. I'll kind of treat this like I haven't modded this guitar, so I'll go over everything that was completely stock about this guitar. So the guitar came with EMG pickups. I believe there were the 59 ? I'm not sure. I'll put it in the video right now. But they were EMGs, and obviously I've changed them out. 3-way switch. And another thing I've changed is I've changed the electronics, but stock it came with 2 volumes and a tone. So volume for neck pickup, volume for bridge pickup, and the master tone. And I've changed that to just a master volume, a master tone, and a kill switch just to fill out this gap, really. And Probably one of my favorite appointments on this guitar is this bridge. This is the Floyd Rose 1500 series, I believe it's called. And what Schecter have done that's special to their own guitars is that any parts that need to come in contact with an Allen key, like this part that presses the block against the string, or the intonation adjustments, or the locking nut, is they've swapped it for stainless steel, so it's extra durable and like it just won't ever break. And I've had it for a year and a half, which isn't a long time in the grand scheme of things, but so far these stainless steel parts are holding up so well. And the thing about Floyd Rose is I love Floyd Roses, which is kind of an unpopular opinion, but I kind of grew up learning on a Floyd Rose. My first guitar was a Schecter Sinister Gate Standard, so I've always loved Schecter ever since I've started playing guitar. So I should specify it's my first real guitar. I've had other guitars in the past before, like, you know, just your kind of cheap knockoff Chinese knockoff guitars, but then my first real guitar was the Schecter Sinister Gates Standard, and that's kind of partly why I live in drop D. It's because when I was growing up learning guitar, because of the Floyd Rose, I was locked into the tuning that it was set at. So being a big Avenged Sevenfold fan, everything was in drop D, so I learned in drop D, all my scales, all my chord shapes. It's just kind of evolved from that since then. I should quickly note the tuning as well. So, I said that I live in drop D, but recently I've been messing with this newer tuning that is kind of like drop D, but then it's like this weird fusion thing. Anyway, let me just quickly explain it. So it's drop D in the higher 5 strings. So you've got your D, A, D, G, B. So all the shapes that I've learned in drop D, like, you know, chord shapes and that kind of stuff. It's just kind of exactly the same, except I'm just missing a high E string, which is fine, because of the new thing I've added, which is this low G. So it's like drop D, but then I've chucked on a lower G, and that's just kind of come from me working with Loathe for the past almost a year. It's a weird tuning I'm messing with, and I'm having a lot of fun kind of coming up with riffs and stuff in this newer tuning. Anyways, back to the specs. So electronics, three-way switch. It's had a volume tone, and I swapped it for a kill switch, which I don't really use. I just needed something to fill in the gap of the old volume because I didn't want two volumes for the controls. The neck shape, and that's one thing I really love about this neck, is the way it transitions from this gloss finish to this matte finish, back to the gloss finish, and the matte finish is only where your hand comes in contact with the neck when you're playing the guitar. And it just makes it feel extra smooth, extra nice to play. The neck shape, Schecter call an ultra thin C, which I don't really get, because I mean, it's thin, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not ultra thin like an Ibanez Wizard thin. This is a really nice, comfortable neck to play, because it doesn't feel like you're holding a piece of paper when you're playing it. So I don't know why they call it ultra thin, but maybe they can go, you know, really, really thick Schecter guitars. There's a good amount of substance at the back for your hand to grab onto when you're playing. It's just a really nice feeling neck. Other kind of appointments, so it's got a mahogany body, which is kind of known for being quite a heavy, dense wood, but it's not a particularly big shape. It's kind of just a, you know, conventional size shape, so it doesn't feel particularly heavy in my opinion. Again, it balances very well on a strap on my leg when I'm playing with it. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers up all the stock specs. Now I want to go over everything that I've changed with it. So first things first, like I said, I swapped the electronics out because I didn't like the 2-volume situation. I just wanted 1 volume. So I quickly changed that up. So it's a master volume and a master tone. I kept the 3-way switch. However, I added quite an interesting kind of pickup electronic configuration. So you've got your volume, you know. However, this is a push-push, which means you don't have to, you know, pull the pot up, you just push it. I love push-push, it just feels really satisfying to push. This is a coil split. Let me put it on a clean just so we know what we're doing with. So that's a coil split. However, this is not just a normal coil split because I've also got this part which controls which coil I'm splitting. So in this down position, it's splitting the outer coils, which means, so say for example in the middle position, I'm getting the outer screw coil when this tone pot is in the down position. So this is the outer coils. And then in the up position is the inner coils. Which sounds really, really nice. Now the reason I've done it like that versus a 5-way switch, say, so you have like, you know, bridge, outer coil, both pickups, inner coils, neck pickup, that kind of thing that you see on a lot of contemporary guitars. The reason I did it like this is so I could have even more pickup combinations. So in the bridge I can have full humbucker, split outer coil, split inner coil. In the middle position I can have full humbucker, both pickups, full humbuckers, split outer coil, split inner coil. In the neck I can have full humbucker, split outer coil, split inner coil. So there's a lot of pickup combinations to mess with versus the kind of 5-way thing, and that's just purely I like to mod things. You know, in practice, who needs all these different combinations of pickup wirings? But I just like to mod and tinker with guitars and see how many different kind of sounds I can extract from just a combination of 2 humbuckers, which I find really fun to do. And really, like, I'm only ever gonna use maybe 3-4 sounds at a time, but the option is there, and that's fun. And who doesn't like options? So the next modification that I did was I changed the pickups. So like I said, this came stock with EMGs, which I did not like at all. I really didn't like how they sounded. My kind of bias of how I liked the way it looks and the way it felt kind of overrided the fact that I really did not like the way the guitar sounded, which is kind of an important factor when you're buying a guitar. You should really like the way it sounds. But I knew at the time that I like modding guitars, so it wasn't that much of a concern for me. I could always just swap the pickups out, which I did. Now, the first pickups that I swapped them out with were the Seymour Duncan JB and Junior set, and I love those pickups. They're probably one of the best sounding pickups I've ever come across. The split positions were great, the full humbucker sounds were great. It was just like one of the most versatile pickup sets I've ever come across. These aren't those. What these are pickups that I wound, and I'm kind of trying to experiment optimizing for really low tunings. So for all you low fans out there, keep an eye out. But yeah, these are pickups that I wound myself, and I'm trying to experiment for optimizing with low tunings. So they aren't extra high output or anything. They're kind of kept in the lower output range to maintain that kind of clarity and definition that you do get with lower output pickups that is kind of needed with the lower tunings. But yeah, I'm not going to go too much into the pickups just because I can make a whole separate video about my process of making these and how I voice them, and just kind of more fine tweaking that I need to do. Anyways, those are the pickups. We'll leave it there. Now, one more mod that I did recently is, you probably spotted this already, is this Trem stop that I made from a bathroom door lock. There we go. This was a very, very old idea that I had all the way back from when I was like 15, and I had a Floyd Rose, and I wanted to change the tunings, and I thought, let me get a bathroom door lock. You know, those things that are like this. And just like screw it to the back so that if I want to go lower or change the tuning or whatever, I can just press it against the trem block, and then now I can't pull back on it. Just very minute amounts because the spring isn't correctly adjusted for it. But now what that means now is, and that's another thing as well, I attached a little magnet here for an Allen key so that I can unlock this bit, unlock the locking nut, and go even lower. And that's another tuning I've been messing with, which is drop D, but then instead of a low G, it's a low E. So I'm in bass territory now, and I've my band, The Sound of Monty, we've been working on a song that kind of uses this tuning, which is interesting, which is partly why I did this, is so that when we do eventually play it live, I don't have to carry multiple guitars just for going from E to G. So now I have this tuning. So yeah, that's kind of why I did this modification. It was really cheap. If you want to do it, it's really easy to do. All you need to do is get one of these locks, which is like £3 from Amazon. There's not even much kind of measuring involved. All you need to do is set it to the that out position for the lock, and then just kind of jam it up against the block. Measure out the screw holes, and then just screw this lock in, and then there you go. You've got a locked trem. So it's a really easy mod. I recommend people who have Floyd Roses to try it, because that means you're not just locked into one tuning of a Floyd Rose, which again is probably why a lot of people don't like Floyd Roses, is that it's really hard to change tunings. But with this little £3 modification, it's a lot easier too. And with a little magnet on the back as well, which I took from my girlfriend for her nail stuff. Sorry, Hannah. But yeah, it's just a little neodymium magnet. It's like £4 for like a pack of 10 or something like that. Really cheap as well. You can have a blocked off trem that you can quickly and easily change the tuning of. But yeah, that is pretty much the guitar. This guitar is around like £1,500, and it's easily probably one of the most nicest feeling guitars I've played in that price range. And I've tried more expensive guitars that don't even come close to how this guitar feels. But yeah, Schecter, you guys absolutely knocked it out of the park with this guitar. This is absolutely a keeper for me. I will not be getting rid of this. That about kind of wraps up for this video. By the time this video comes out, I will be on tour in the US. So if you're at any of these dates that you see on screen right now, come say hello. And if you're not, then I'll see you guys at the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.